going to keep it on the racing surface.
I don't know that we'll see a pass here as they go.
A deep dive on the brakes. Here comes the 6-8 into the inside.
By 7 on the second. I can't believe what we just saw.
Welcome to 1987. Social media consisted of newspaper and radio. You can count the clock speed of a computer on your fingers, and you could buy a mansion for the price of a one-bedroom apartment with today's inflation rates. It was also the heyday of the North Wilkesboro Speedway. The now defunct track, praying for revival, has found such luck, at least digitally, in the iRacing service. Tonight, the ERSCA PristineAuction.com series will decide their playoff lineup. In tonight's regular season finale, the Hot Lap Podcast 200, and you'll catch it live right here on Sim TV. And again, it's going to be myself, Corey Silva, and Brandon Kreutz giving you the calls here tonight. Of course, due to Brandon's normal situations technologically, he'll be joining us here in a minute or so. But again, final race of the regular season, qualifying underway right now, and those results will populate on the left side of your screen right now. It is Josh Adams leading the field down, and what's going to be a very, very good race here. And we actually do have some really nice new features here on Sim TV that we are happy to bring. We have shown you in the past. We had our virtual in-car segment with Johnny Thomas. We've expanded it to have 4 drivers that we will be following in tonight's efforts in terms of Johnny Thomas, Damian Leininger, Tate Lytle, and Scott Crump. We will all be doing live on boards with them. So again, really excited to bring that to you. But again, we have to point to the obvious of what is going on here tonight. We have to bring up our point standings so you can see what's going to be in stake and who is going to be fighting for what. We'll populate that on your screen right in the center right now. This is the current chase standings. This was made by admin. So you can see on the top of the pylon, Scott Crump, everybody in green is to the good right now. Top 10 in, and the last 10 are out. Johnny Thomas has a 2-point buffer over Kenny Lowry in 11th, and just looking at where these guys are starting so far, Johnny Thomas 5th on the scoring sheet right now, which is good for him. Kenny Lowry in that number 22, well, he has a little bit more work to do down in the 18th spot. So, but being a short track, anything can happen. Other guys who may be right on that cut line as well. You can see Dylan Thomas, Robert Hill Jr., Brandon Key, all within reach depending what does happen to some of these guys here tonight. So that's what we're going to be following, as well as, of course, just the action and kind of an unknown, because North Wilkesboro, at least on iRacing, it's only been out for, the better part of about a month and a half. And in the Xfinity cars, most of these guys have taken to the new 1987 stock cars that iRacing has released here, but taking it in the Xfinity cars, I don't think that's really happened as often for some of these guys. So it'll be interesting to see, how it does race. I do know firsthand that there is a lot of multi-groove action here at North Wilkesboro. There's a lot of bumps on the inside lane, and it's a lot smoother in the middle, and it does kind of give you the opportunity to run multiple lines, but we'll see how that does happen. But we are on the grid right now, so let's go ahead and give it to you. The starting lineup here today at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. On your pole here tonight is the number 48 of Nick Massey, pulling in there last second, taking the top spot away. Tate Lytle, one of our virtual onboard drivers, will be in the second spot. Then we have Josh Adams in third, Gerald Campbell rolling off in the fourth position, Chris Wright in fifth, and then Dylan Thomas. He's one of those drivers that needs a really good run. He's going to be rolling off in sixth. Brandon Key in seventh, Joshua Neal in eighth, Robert Hill Jr. right on the cut line, him as well in ninth. Zishan Dura, good starting spot for him, will be starting in the top 10. We'll let the remaining drivers kind of populate on the left side, on the bottom of your screen. Leininger and Thomas, two of our onboards, 11th and 12th. We have Adam Pettit, Richard Lafferty, Vincent Isabella, Chris Worrell, 15th and 16th, Joe Francis, Kyle Hanshaw, 17th and 18th, Brian Dorsey and Scott Crump, 19th and 20th. is Kenny Lowry in 21st, Tyler Riggs 22nd, Davis Warren 23rd, Sean Dias in 24th, Chuck Sweeting in 25th, and then Kyle Lowry 26th, Marshall Stanley, Joshua Personet, Zach Patton, the fan favorite, in 29th, and Brent Jones in 30th. And looks like that will consist of our starting grid here tonight. Let's bring up the weather conditions, let you know exactly what the virtual conditions here are tonight at North Wilkesboro Speedway. 83 degrees in the air, pretty warm conditions here. Extremely hot track temp, 125 degrees. Looks like mostly cloudy skies here. At least at the current moment, the sun is out, but you can see a lot of thick clouds there in the background, so I'm sure those will come into play. And again, Corey Silva and soon to be Brandon Kreutz, once his technological issues do, subside. But again, it's going to be 200 laps here at North Wilkesboro, and we'll be very curious to see who does what, who can start where. But it looks like we only have one quick pace lap, so these guys, it's not wasting any time here before we get going. So we'll see what happens. Pace car. Well, actually, I lied. 2 pace laps around here. That's actually good because it gives us time to show off our virtual in-car segment here. Top left, that is going to be top left's going to be Scott Crump. Top right, Damian Leininger. Bottom left, Tate Lytle. Bottom right, Johnny Thomas. Those are our virtual in-car drivers. We'll be following them as the race does progress with the individual segments, perhaps some individual interviews as well. So again, Nick Massey and Tate Lytle, we just saw him. They are going to be on the front row here at North Wilkesboro for the Hot Lap Podcast 200. You're on Sim TV. It's Corey Silva. It's the Pristine ERSCA PristineAuction.com series. Pace car is in. Let's get it going. Green flag of the year. We're racing at North Wilkesboro. Off into turn 1 we go, and good jump by Massey. Lytle also able to clear for the second position. Big wiggle from Massey in 3 and 4. That's going to kill his momentum. Open the door up for Tate Lytle to the inside, and we're wrecking in the back of the pack. Big wreck there. I see the 8 car of Richard Lafferty. Looks like he is the most backwards of the bunch there. Kyle Lowry in the 2 goes around as well. Take a little gander about what happened here. And at North Wilkesboro, one thing that I have noticed, it gets very squirrely here. So looks like that may have been what happened here, kind of following the 8 of Lafferty to see if it did. Yeah, he got a little bit loose. Chris Worrell was to his inside. You can see Kyle Hanshaw. The 9 machine had some contact there. Zach Patton just sneaks through. But yeah, that is our first yellow flag of the day. Again, loose, cold tires here. Hot track temp. Definitely catching some of these drivers out here tonight. So we do get our back to green flag. Oh, back to our back to live footage. So. Yeah, saw Tate Lytle. You saw Tate Lytle there. Got right underneath Nick Massey there as Massey got got loose there off of 4. So, and loose conditions and cold tires kind of affecting everybody here so far, but more so the guys in the back. So they will have to kind of, smooth things out just a little bit, and let the tires get up to temp, and try to allow yourself to get yourself in a rhythm here, which is going to be very important at North Wilkesboro. This is a very tough track, uphill. It's uphill up the back straightaway, downhill into turn 1, I believe. Sometimes I do get that backwards, but some of the anomalies that happen with a more classic track, it doesn't have all the perfections. It wasn't leveled out with a highly computerized system. It was built back in the 40s. Where they just had a paving machine, they had an idea, and they just had a bulldozer and cleared out a racetrack. So those imperfections kind of what give it its character. A lot of tracks miss that kind of thing. So, kind of hoping that, this track does get its, we were kind of hoping with a Pro Invitational, this track got enough attention to, get its second shining back to, another revival. But doesn't look like that's going to happen. But, at least we do have it preserved here in its 1987 configuration, and what a blast it is running here in the 1987 stock cars here on iRacing. If you haven't done that, do recommend checking that out. But we do have one to go here, so we'll get doubled up, stacked up, ready to go back green flag racing with Nick Massey in command, Lytle to the outside. And then we have Josh Adams and the 31 of Gerald Campbell in the old school Terry Labonte car to the outside. His car pulls in the pit road. We'll wait for Massey. Massey doesn't waste any time at all. He's on the loud pedal, racing back again on lap number 7. Hard into corner number 1. There goes Lytle trying to make something happen on the outside. Not enough rubber up there yet, so we did have to fall back in line. They will be side by side for third with Campbell and Adams right here. You can see how rough the inside groove is here at North Wilkesboro. So it does kind of cause that multi-groove racing to come into effect, where you do have to fight really hard on that inside just to stay stable through the bumps. Allows you to take advantage of that outside and, smoother approach to the corner. Do not lose as much speed. But that does create that side-by-side battle that we see for third right now. And if you're Lytle, you just don't want to open up the door for Adams. But if you're Adams, I mean, it's really hard getting that car pinched down there. You gotta watch out for that little break in the wall on the back straightaway. I've seen far too many drivers up there and actually causing, some contact with that wall. Back in the day, we didn't have tunnels underneath these racetracks, so they actually just had breaks in the wall to, take the haulers and bring them in and out of the racetrack. So you actually have to watch out for that. If you get too far out there, you'll have an embarrassing incident, as that battle does still continue for the third spot. And then the Chris Wright in the 69, a lot of old school paint schemes and different paint schemes here. So it's kind of, a little bit different than what we're used to seeing, which is throwing me off here in the booth. But, some nice schemes by some great painters here. So these guys are really, trying to take this throwback scheme and really take it to heart here. But Nick Massey pulling up by him on a second here. See Tate Lytle. It looks like he may be holding Josh Adams up a little bit. Adams is trying to run that lower groove, trying to get that run on corner exit. If he can, try to get that shot into turn number 3. He's going to take that to his advantage right here. Lytle is trying to fight there on that outside line, and he is holding him off here for the time being. We will go on board here with Tate Lytle. You can see he has that nice checkered flag wheel cover there, nice and comfy. I'm assuming that is for him, but you can see he's really fighting the wheel very aggressively, trying to hang on to it, and he will have to suffice that second spot up to Josh Adams here. But still a lot of time to go in the race, and we do have a lot of time before these guys will have to really start dealing with the tire wear. So maybe he's just letting him go and hoping that he may get back to him later in the run. But let's go back and find some more racing. You see some side-by-side racing a little bit further back. There was Marshall Stanley in the 20. He was racing side-by-side with Joshua Personet. A little bit further forward, Vincent Isabella and Robert Hill Jr. Remember Robert Hill Jr. right on the cusp. He needs a good run to keep himself in playoff contention. Chris Worrell getting really loose there. Off a 2 and down the back straightaway. Keeps that thing situated. But that is Vincent Isabella, kind of odd man out on the outside. He will squeeze just in front of Worrell and behind Hill, but now he's going to take a look to the inside of Hill, try to take advantage of that. But Worrell looks to the outside, gets really loose and squirrely there, trying to get the power down. So he won't be able to get to the outside of Isabella. And I did get update from my colleague Brandon Kreutz, and he is having technical quandaries over here, so he is still trying to work to get in with us into the booth. So we're going to hope that he gets that situated sooner rather than later, but the caution does come over the speedway. Can't quite tell who it was, but it looks like Chuck Sweeting was the slowest of the bunch here, so I'm going to take a gathering that he may have been involved in something. Sometimes it's hard to tell if I don't really see any smoke or stopped vehicles. Gonna have to go off the telemetry a little bit sometimes, but oh yeah, my assessment was right there. We'll pull it up on the screen for you guys. See the 50 of Joe Francis and the 9 of Brian Dorsey. Dorsey got a little bit loose there, a little bit of a checkup, then the 18 machine right into the back bumper of Sweeting. That was Joshua Personet making some contact with Chuck Sweeting. So we'll be interested to see here if there is any pit stops on this very early caution. I do see someone coming in the pits. That's Tate Lytle. In the 56, he's going to come to pit lane here on lap number 20, and he's going to be lonely in the process. The top 13 or so drivers all staying out. So Nick Massey, Josh Adams, Gerald Campbell, Chris Wright, and Dylan Thomas are going to be your top 5. Brandon Key, Damian Leininger, Josh Neal, Zishandura, and Robert Hill Jr. are going to be your top 10 thus far. And kind of just saying, I'm going a little bit of a scope of our virtual in-car drivers. We just showed you Tate Lytle. Lytle, after that pit stop, is showing where is he? He's back to the 13th spot. Johnny Thomas, he's in 15th. You know, we've seen him a couple races in a row in our virtual in-car segment. And then we have Scott Crump. You know, Crump is someone that we see week after week having really some great runs here, and usually in a green machine, so he has a different scheme here tonight. Crump running back in the 23rd running position right now with some damage onto the right, to the front of that machine, and he's going to come into pits. Looks like he's going for some repairs right now, so we'll have to see what's going on with that. Obviously something happened with him being in the back of the pack. And then our last driver, Damian Leininger, our last virtual in-car driver. He is currently in the 7th spot. I really like that scheme, the numbers on that car. I really like that number font that they have on that Puck Puck Pass Camaro. Remember, Puck Puck Pass is a company that you can actually go to their website, and there was some virtual betting on the line with some of the results from their races, so something that you can look into. Of course, a lot of league sponsors here, and they're all in the YouTube description, so definitely check them out. But we are getting ready here for one to go. So Nick Massey will regain command of your field here on lap number 23, and he will have Josh Adams to his outside, Rebens Racing Motorsports. All right, green flag back in the air on lap number 23. You can see the wheel spin these guys had under the throttle there. It'll be interesting to see how those old tires, remember top 13 or so did stay out on old tires. So we'll see if those new tires can work their way up through the field. Passing here at North Wilkesboro is rather difficult. So we'll have to see how that does play out. But battle for second, as we do have another quick caution. That's Richard Lafferty with his second issue of the evening. So we'll take a look here on SimTV replay and see what happened to Richard. I can. I already kind of lost. Oh, okay. Looks like we got it here. Looks like it was a self-spin. Right, for the delay here, trying to pull it up here, but there he is, Richard Lafferty. He was coming off corner number 4, and just a, you know, slow self-spin here. Very, very slow and methodical, and I'm actually shocked it did cue a caution up, but I think it was just because of the field trying to come and close in on him that it did prompt a caution, but we'll see if anybody else is coming to pit road, and if you do hear some silence, I am working with our colleague to get his technical issues resolved, but yeah, that will put us under our third caution of the race here on lap number 26. So Gerald Campbell gets himself up to the second position. In that 31 machine, Josh Adams, again for Rubbins Racing Motorsports. He's had, one of the better seasons thus far. He had that win at Daytona, along with the win at Darlington in the Belly Up Sports Southern 200. So he's, in very good position here, as we'll pull up the points graphic one more time. Josh Adams with those 2 wins this season, but Chris Wright has that 1 win, but he's in 9th. Johnny Thomas in 10th. So we'll pull up this a couple times so you can kind of get a reminder of where everyone does stand. But Johnny Thomas has those 2 points, so he's going to want to stay as high up as he can. That 83 after this present caution does find himself in the 12th position after a pit stop on the last sequence. So we'll see where he can get up, but the top drivers will have 28 laps on their tires. So again, depending how many cautions we get, we'll see if there's another caution that causes them all to come to pit road, and ideally that's what's going to happen for them, is there's going to be a caution maybe in about 15 or so laps that allows everyone to come to pit road and kind of gives them a reset on tires. But we are on 1 to go. But Nick Massey again in control. He's gone very early in the box both times so far. So let's see what he does on this run right here. Early in the box once more. Campbell tried to stay with him there. He actually did a pretty good job of it. Let's see if he can dive to the outside and stay side by side in corner number 1. He's going to try to get to the right rear quarter panel and see if he can make a move off corner number 2. I think he's actually door to door with him. We'll see if he's able to keep the run on the outside through the smoother upper groove, although the upper groove doesn't quite have the rubber up there yet in the speed. It is just naturally smoother and does kind of allow you to run a little bit more speed up there. So he's going to take that to his advantage. Look at the big wiggle from Massey off 2. That's going to allow Adams to get to the top and pass him. Now Massey's going to go from 1st, potentially 3rd here, as Josh Adams is going to take that outside lane and grab him at the stripe. But let's see if he's going to be able to clear. Looks like he is. That outside lane is where you want to be, at least for the time being. So we'll see what Massey's able to do. He's going to be able to get back in line behind the number 95 of Adams, his teammate, as we're on board with Dylan Thomas in the 03. He's right behind Chris Wright, that belly up sports Camaro. The number 69 machine, he's one that is right on the edge of the playoff contention right now. So he does not have a lot of wiggle room to work with right here in that bright yellow 03 right to the back bumper of him. Brandon Key in a pretty generic blue scheme here. Again, he's usually in either a yellow or a green scheme if memory serves. So again, these guys changing it up for the kind of throwback race that we have here. But Gerald Campbell, in the meantime, he was actually able to grab the lead out of that shuffle. So we kind of missed that while we were watching those other guys. So that moved that 31 Terry Labonte scheme to the top of the pylon right now on lap number 34. Again, 200 laps on the docket here tonight. Just going a little bit further back, these guys are still side by side for the middle portion of your top 10. That's Johnny Thomas in the number 83. He is to the inside as Ishan Dura in the number 10 machine. Trying to crack the top 10 is Johnny Thomas. You can see we've seen him in his Logitech G27 or 29. I can't quite tell from this angle. I think it's a 27. He's trying to close in on that number 7 of Josh Neal, that old school Gatorade scheme. You can see Neal really washing up high there through the bumps in 3 and 4. Allows Thomas to get the run to the inside. We'll see if he's going to be able to take full advantage of that and complete any kind of a pass. Looks like he will. So doing a great job and moving up here into the 9th position. Remember, on those fresher tires, because he did stay out under one of our last cautions where everybody else did pit. So he is working through the field on fresher tires. A little bit further back, some contact between the 7 and the 6. 7 got a little bit of a nudge from Chris Worrell. You see Worrell got the run to the inside with the 7 having to check up there. So move that the 6 machine into your top 10. And now Zishan Dura in the 10. He's to the inside. And watch out for the 20 of Davis Warren. The 84 Robert Hill Jr. nearly going to push a 3 wide. Joe Francis in the middle of that. Remember, Francis is one that we always catch up front at the end of the races. races, but he's in the middle of a hornet's nest right now, probably not where he wants to be in the mid-teens, but this is where you have to be super careful because you can't win the race now, but you more as hell can lose it. So just got to keep patient here, keep the tires on it. Don't get hit from behind as he just did from Kenny Lowry. Manages to save it. Francis is going to drop back to about 21st position. Now Adam Pettit is going to be side by side with Kenny Lowry after that contact. Lowry's going to be up to the 15th position. Lowry is on, again, fresher tires than most of the drivers in the top 10 now. He's trying to use them to any kind of advantage that he can right now. But the big stack ups here, Robert Hill Jr. to the inside of Josh Neal. Not really missing too much up front right now, as Gerald Campbell has pulled away by roughly a half second over second place Josh Adams now. Lap times between the two roughly within a tenth of a second more to the favor of the 31 machine right now, so not missing too much in that regard. Just a lot of interesting racing here for the latter end of the top 10. Here comes a couple of our onboard drivers right now, 83 and the 12. Johnny Thomas and Damian Leininger. Leininger is trying to get that 8th spot. Or actually, I think Johnny Thomas is trying to get it on the outside. I'd have to imagine that to be the case with Johnny Thomas having 20-lap fresher tires. Chris Worrell right to the back bumper of Damian Leininger. He's got to be careful. We saw what Worrell did to Neal. So if you're not a number 12 machine, just kind of err with caution. That 6 is in a hurry on those fresher tires as well. But Tate Lytle, very quietly, as we've been watching all this racing through the field, Tate Lytle is the highest running driver who did stay out on fresh tires. Well, rather get fresh tires a couple cautions ago. He's got himself up to the 4th position right now in that number 56, and he's closing on the back door of the 3rd spot of Chris Wright. And this is getting to the point in the run, everybody, where it is very, very easy to overdrive the car here. Very, very easy. North Wilkesboro, very slick, very wore out. Obviously hasn't gotten paved in years on years. I mean, I don't know when this track was repaved, but its last race was in 96, and it's been sitting dormant ever since, with a very, very brief resurgence in 2010, 2009, 2010, roughly 2011. Brief resurgence, but it just had the weeds taken out of it. It wasn't even seal coated. It was just run exactly as is. So it really hasn't had any kind of, refresher or any kind of revitalization. So when iRacing scanned it, they actually had to do a little bit of, Dale Jr. and company. And I'll finish that story later because we do have a caution flag. And we have a parking lot here on the front straightaway. Marshall Stanley, Kyle Lowry, Joe Francis and company. Big stoppage here. We'll try to see what happened here on the replay. See, there's a 3 wide here. And then the 25 into the 7. Davis Warren was already around. Warren was collected. And then we had the 50. He was slow to the inside. And then the track just became completely blocked, where you see drivers, that blue machine in the back. And now here come your leaders, and they don't know where to go. I've had personal situations like this happen. I had a league race that I lost. The lead fell back to 8th because, I got stopped and ended up getting turned by just trying to wait and see where the lap cars were going to go. But this will pretty much open the door for everyone to come to pit road and get fresh tires. You can see most of our leaders have come to pit lane right now. A couple exceptions have stayed on the track in the form of Kenny Lowry, Vincent Isabella, and Brent Jones, and actually Joe Francis looks like he's stayed out as well. So it looks like after all 2 drivers stay out, it's going to be Kenny Lowry and Vincent Isabella. Looks like are choosing to remain on the racetrack, at least as of right now anyways, as we are 25% distance in tonight's race. So 25 lap old tire. Really didn't take too much of a gander as to where these guys were going to be on lap times and fall off. So I don't know what the speed differential is going to be, but I do expect these guys to have some serious wheel spin, and I just hope that doesn't really cause anything in the middle of the field. Because, you know, we have these guys, you know, all coagulated up here on a restart. Ends up being really difficult. Again, if you, we do want to focus, you know, bring up just again, you can see our 4 drivers under caution flag right now. And top left is Scott Crump, top right Damian Leininger, bottom left Tate Lytle, bottom right is Johnny Thomas. Our 4 virtual in-car drivers, all from their homes, racing individually here. So again, kind of a cool little in-car segment where we do have. I'd really love to have this on a road course. I think we do have a road course coming up later in the season. If I am correct on that, and I am incorrect on that. We already had our road course at the Roval, but that's something we're going to keep going throughout the season here. But we are going to go green here on lap number 54. We'll see how those old tires on the front row do manage with fresh tires through the remainder of the field. Green flag back in the air. Kenny Lowry gets on the accelerator. No wheel spin, gets up to speed rather quickly and rather efficiently. But now he has to turn, and that's usually where the old tires begin to fail themselves. So he gets himself up to speed. Here comes Vincent Isabella trying to go to the outside, and old tire is going to be side by side for the lead. Now fresh tires stacked up 2-3 rows back side by side off corner number 4. Nearly some 3 wide action. Campbell looking for the 3 wide on the bottom of the track. They're going to go 3 wide through 1 and 2 here at North Wilkesboro. 3 wide for your lead on lap number 55. Big wiggle from Tate Lytle. They're 3x3 for 2 rows. You'd think we're at Talladega right now. We're at North Wilkesboro Speedway. We're 4 wide off corner number 4 rather. 3x3. What is going on? How are these guys handling this? My goodness gracious. Absolutely incredible racing here on lap number 56. All the way up to the fence is Vincent Isabella. The old tires, lack of grip, finally catching up with him here. Absolutely amazing racing that they were able to hang on to that. I don't know how they did this. Again, testament to the drivers, testament to the North Wilkesboro Speedway for putting on the racing that it is able to provide here. But looks like we're finally back to a side-by-side. I know side-by-side after what we just saw is pretty much nothing, isn't it? But that's the 0-3 of Dylan Thomas and the 6 of Chris Worrell. Worrell to the outside now, back to the inside. He will clear for that spot. 0-3 to the outside. Those old tires not doing too well. That 4 machine. He's all the way back to the 8th spot now. The other driver, Kenny Lowry, all the way back to the 12th spot now. So these guys are really, really praying that they can get another caution and get themselves on 4 fresh tires, because they are only going to head in the wrong direction, as we do have a little bit of sideways action. Chris Worrell sideways. That's Vincent Isabella. Upside down goes the 6 up and around. And that'll put us under caution flag yet again here on lap number 60. Talking about Chris Worrell a lot tonight. He's kind of been in a lot of action here tonight, both in positive and in negative ways. We'll take a look at what happened to him here, kind of go on board with him. You can see he got turned around, and this is where Vincent Isabella, as he got sideways here, Vincent Isabella kind of gave him the little door hook there, and the slowest and most methodical barrel roll I think I've ever seen. And the damage to that machine is minimal enough that I think he's actually going to be fine. Take a look at that one more time here. So again, that is just the slowest. Oh, it's a little bit late there. Just gonna rewind very quickly. So he was just sideways there, and just look at the slowest and most light, methodical barrel roll you'll ever see by Chris Worrell, and he'll keep himself in contention, at least we assume to be anyways. But your leaders did stay out. Looks like your top 15, 16 even, chose to stay out on that last sequence. So the first driver on fresh tires is actually going to be Nick Massey, all the way back in the 17th position. in the number 48. And, you know, with what we saw on that last caution when 3 and 4 wide, literally 3x3 for 2-3 rows. I mean, I know Talladega, if you're watching this live, Talladega was what was on, you know, actual NASCAR Monster Energy, a little series behind, was on NASCAR Cup Series today, but you know, they were taking a stab at emulating that here at North Wilkesboro, and absolutely incredible that they did not wreck. I genuinely do not know how they didn't, but they pulled it off very well. So. See what the pace car does do, if it does give us one to go this time by. Might be pulling this race off solo, guys. Brandon is really struggling. He had a graphics card driver update, and you know, sometimes, usually that works well. Sometimes it works catastrophically. And, not quite sure if his graphics card has lived up to the graphics driver update and may have totally conked itself out, so he may or may not be back. We will hope that he is. My voice definitely hopes that he will be back, but we'll make do and call this the best we can with just me in the booth if necessary. But here we come. We're getting ready for one to go. Well, rather green flag even this time by. Campbell's going to take the outside lane. First time we've seen leader swap this evening, but he will get that big jump he needs. Enter corner number 1. Now the battle's going to be for second with Wright. Wright's going to send it on in there to the outside of Tate Lytle. Take full advantage of that, and he's going to try to go for second here. He's going to clear for second even. So great job there by Chris Wright to take advantage of that situation and go up to the second spot. Lytle tried to fight back there, but just didn't have the momentum to do so. Dylan Thomas to the inside of Zishan Dura. Dura having a really great run here, closing in and really making some progress here. Usually we see him top 10, top 15, but he's really having a great run, keeping himself solidly in the top 10 and even challenging for a top 5. But we know there's a lot of differential coming up with different pit strategies and fresh tires coming through the field. Massey, remember, he was the first on fresh tires. He's only gained about 2 positions since he's gained those fresh tires on, so not really moving up as fast as we would have thought. Even in 3 laps, I thought he would probably have gained 5 positions, knowing how quick that 48 usually is. Dora making a little bit of contact with the back of Damian Leininger there. Leininger getting really loose as he is battling. Oh, we've lost Damian's feed a little. Oh, we've lost Damian's feed. Thought we had it. I'll see if we can get it back. But yeah, he's having that fight here with Dura. But hanging on to the top 10 for the moment is Leininger. Yeah, which, as caution is on the speedway. Seeing what happened here, if I can. Don't really see any obvious flaws here with the caution. But I do see Tate Lytle coming to pit road. The pit strategy is definitely all over the place here tonight. Tate Lytle is going to go back at least to probably near the 20th position. It does look like we've had the vast majority stay out, at least up to the 19th position. Brent Jones even stay out, so not what he was looking for. But again, more than half of the distance to play with in tonight's race. So we are working with Damian Leininger, trying to see if we can get his feedback. But he's driving, so kind of hard to finagle with websites and phones and all that stuff. But if he's able to get it back, we will show that. But we'll kind of have to cut out one of our segments here to accommodate having one of our drivers out. But we still have 3 other drivers to focus on. We got Johnny Thomas, Tate Lytle, and Scott Crump. There goes Kenny Lowry going to get a lap back. Oh, Kyle Lowry, excuse me. I always get them confused. Kyle was 2 laps down. He will get down to, I believe, just one lap down after that lucky dog. Looks like everybody else is still on the lead lap. And has somebody braved the technological woes, at least in some capacity?
Yeah, in some capacity, I think I have. Kind of, more or less. We're getting there, kind of.
You broke into your last week's status, or you broke into the status that we were working on before?
I'm kind of broken to graphics card not working status, running off of onboard graphics.
Yeah, we will work on that at a later time, but at least you have at least one frame rate, I assume.
More or less.
All right, yeah, it's fine as long as it's even if it's a flip book, it's still you can still see the action. We've had a great race, Brandon, about 5 cautions so far, but last restart we literally had 3x3 racing. You'd think this was Talladega-esque with what we saw. So we have top 10 on older tires. First person on fresh tires is Tate Lytle back in the 13th spot. So we'll see how it does happen. Leader will choose the outside lane. That is Gerald Campbell. He'll get on the loud pedal, get this race back underway to take lap number 75.
Looks like he's going to bring it down into corner number 1, and the field now rollers down into turn 2 on the restart this time. It's going to be 2 iRacing back behind him, as looks like Chris Wright and Dylan Thomas going to go at it. Caution flag flies once again.
Yeah, it didn't get going very long that time. Looks like Joshua Persona in the 18 is our culprit for this most recent yellow flag. I'll take a look here at replay and try to see what happened to him. Self spin, old tires, a lot of horsepower, tough track. Actually, I wouldn't even fully call that a spin. That was just kind of a little get sideways, but the flag man was just a little bit on the side of caution there.
Yeah, obviously, I was trying to tune into the broadcast that way I didn't miss too much of the action, and I could kind of keep track of everything that was going on. And the self spin, Corey, seems like a common theme tonight so far.
Yeah, I mean, my most recent experience here at North Wilkesboro was in the new 87 release stock car, which is oops.
No, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, my most recent experience at North Wilkesboro was in the 87 stock car, which is, why we have this track built to 87 status, to match that. And that was the biggest thing I had, was getting loose on exit. And actually, I think the 87 stock car has its own nuances, but definitely getting loose on exit is a big thing here at North Wilkesboro, and a lot of it is because of the elevation change. When you come into turn number 1, you're going downhill, so the car is naturally going to be a little bit light on exit. And if anything, off of 2, you might get a little bit loose because you're going to be going uphill a little bit. So it's just kind of the nuances I talked about earlier, the nuances of an older racetrack. It wasn't built with, laser levels and perfect measurements. It was just kind of built with a bulldozer and a plan. It kind of gave it the nuances that, make it what drivers loved so much and, love in the virtual world.
Yeah, absolutely. So very difficult track to tame in itself.
You can even say the same thing about Darlington. Darlington was designed to be a perfect oval. And then they realized, hey, there's this pond here and we're not allowed to touch it. So I guess it's going to not have to be perfect. That's literally how they built it back in the 50s. They just made do with, whatever land they had available, and, whatever shape it ended up being is whatever shape it ended up being.
Yeah, a lot of really unique shape racetracks, something you don't really see anymore is kind of the off-axis ovals that I don't know if that was even a term.
Yeah, but there was a track in Trenton. There was a track in Trenton, New Jersey, that actually had a right-hand kink in the middle of the back straightaway.
Yeah, yep.
And that's actually...
Can you imagine trying to set your race car up for that track?
Yeah, and there was actually... turn 1 at Pocono is actually built to mimic one of the turns there at Trenton. Small track fact that you may or may not have known. But we are on 1 to go. And again, leader will take the outside lane. We've seen that be the preferable lane with a little bit more of a smooth smooth groove up there, kind of lets you keep the speed better, hold more of the car in your control. So all the way up to the fence, kind of reminiscent of a dirt track start, Brandon, all the way up at the fence, protecting the line. Green flag back in the air.
Gerald Campbell going to lead the field down into turn 1 once again. That's going to be the 69 machine back behind him now. Chris Wright trying to make a move. He's right there on the back bumper. Two iRacing back behind him.
2i back through the field here, as you can see here on the long shots, as everybody does go to complete lap number 81. And the Kellogg's car will be your command vehicle, but look at that 69 of Chris Wright. He is trying to make some changes to that plan as we do go through the field here. That's Josh Adams in the 95, losing a spot potentially to Damian Leininger. Leininger to the inside, but no, that's going to shut the door because 95 is not going to be going for that. He's going to be going underneath the 03 of Dylan Thomas.
That's going to be a side-by-side battle down the back straightaway, heading down into turn 3 now, and now that's going to clear up as Adams just not quite able to get underneath him. He's going to try again, maybe out of turn 4, not able to get his nose underneath.
Not at all, but he's sticking there right to the left rear quarter panel. He's trying to get as close to the grass as he can. You got to be careful with that grass. Because it does, it's grass, but it's very hard to keep, there's no curb down there. There's really not any apron. So if you just get too low trying to get a run, you'll find yourself slipping there once you get into the green stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's really difficult. Obviously, these race cars running on slick tires, there's no tread to these things. So even the slightest bit of surface change that, not asphalt, it'll really upset these cars and could even send you around.
Yep, and our first person on fresh tires is making his way back up as we'll go on board with Tate Lytle. Again, I want to make a joke, Brandon, because he has like a really plush steering wheel cover, but I don't want. Nah, I can't say what I want to say because it'll. This new day and age, I'll end up getting in trouble for it. It's not bad, but he is moving his way up. He's in.
It's a checker flag, man. Come on.
No, but it's all plush and fluffy. So at least it looks plush and fluffy, anyways. So
well, it looks like a very comfortable racing experience. That's all.
Because for all I know now, these guys are going to start calling him fluffy, and it's going to be my fault, but. So I didn't say that, but he is the first person on fresh tires, a 21 lap differential, betterment of the tires for the 56. And look at all the movement there from Dylan Thomas as Lytle had to avoid him. Lytle is trying to get underneath Thomas, but Thomas is trying to pass Leininger. Leininger in the 12 machine, but watch out because now we have Brandon Key looking to the inside of Lytle. Look at the contact, 0-3 into the 12. Leininger goes around.
Caution flag
and Leininger spins into the pits. That's going to be even worse for him because now he has to go pit road speed limit.
Huge implications for Damian Leininger there, and now we go back on SimTV replay, take a look at it.
Yeah, you can just see there were a lot of movement going on here. We'll take this one from our drone cam. Hopefully if the grandstand gets out of the way, there it goes. A little bit of contact there through the center of 1 and 2 with the 0-3 of Dylan Thomas, but then we enter turn number 3, which is where the contact came. See, the 12 kind of hit the grass there. 0-3 got in the back of him, and the 12 just a really soft spin, but he spun directly into pit lane, which is even more insult to injury because he had to cruise through at approximately 35 miles an hour rather than catching up under regular pace speed.
Big implications there, and it looks like as of now it's going to be the 0-3 Dylan Thomas up at the front of the field.
Yes, it is, and we'll be I'm curious to see once everything does shuffle out, curious to see where the 12 does play out. Does look like he did remain on the lead lap at the very least, so not a total loss for him, even if not convenient. But luckily, we still have yet to, get ourselves to the halfway point. Can you tell that I had to do a lot of...
What's a moint?
It's a mark and a point. Yeah, can you tell I had to do a lot of talking while you were falafeling around with graphics drivers?
Yeah.
2 races in a row, mind you, Brandon. Mr. Lack there of technical savvy, but we will work on that. Part of the... well, I'm going to...
Hey, I'd like to say that this is not totally my fault, but I will blame the technical tech.
Well, I'm going to actually give you benefit of the doubt, Brandon, because one of our, one of the biggest channels on the iRacing service with RaceSpot TV, they had some major issues during the large Le Mans 24-hour broadcast, which is a, year-renowned broadcast everyone looks forward to, and especially in this day and age, I learned myself. We missed our broadcast with Ralph Shaheen here on SimTV when Pristine Auction Series went to Charlotte. I needed a new liquid cooler for my PCPU. I didn't. Mine died. My old one died, and I didn't have anything laying around. I needed a new one. In this new COVID era, with warehouses closed and Amazon delays and
it's almost impossible to get parts at the moment until all these companies get restocked.
Back in the day, I'd order a part and it would be there in 2 to 3 days, Amazon Prime shipping. And now it's back ordered, and even if it's not back ordered, it's going to take 7 to 9 days to ship. So then 2-3 weeks in transit time, if not longer than that, if it's not back ordered. So hard in the technology world. If something goes sour, no promises you're going to get it fixed. And especially remember, even with the Pro Invitational, how hard it was to get how hard it was to get stuff with sim racing equipment, because the Pro Invitational and stuff, everyone was getting wheels left and right, kind of almost emptied out the market. But we are going green, and it looks like we are kind of taking the dirt track methodology, Brandon, single file restart here.
Single file restart. These guys get to defend that high lane up against the outside wall. They get it to the restart points. Green flag flies once again. Dylan Thomas leads the field down into turn 1.
Yes, he is, and he did get a pretty good jump there, so we'll see if he is going to be able to not do anything. Brent Jones in the 89 goes around.
See what happened here.
It looks like a self-spin, Brandon, but I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because we went a little bit too far back there on the replay. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. He just done got her sideways, Brandon. He just done got her sideways.
All by his lonesome there, down off of turn number 4.
We are here in the background trying to get our onboards back with Damian Leininger. And these drivers really look, drivers, fans, we've gotten nothing but positive feedback about this virtual in-car driver. We'll kind of go through, Johnny Thomas, you can see him. Johnny is in the 8th position here. Remember, he's right on the playoff cutoff. Tate Lytle, talked about him with his fluffy steering wheel cover. Tate, if they call you fluffy, I'm sorry, brother. Running joke, but that steering wheel cover does look great and comfortable. And then Scott Crump. Haven't talked about him too much because he just hasn't had a Scott Crump-like run. He's all the way back in the 22nd position, and he had some damage that we did miss under an earlier caution.
Yeah, really, couple of newer faces up towards the front of the field at the moment that we don't see on a week-to-week basis. So, kind of a little bit of a change in plays here, being at a newer track to the iRacing service and a more difficult track at that.
Yeah, definitely. By all stretch of the imagination, this is not an easy facility. So these guys doing a great job, and it looks like we got Damian back here. I don't know.
We did get him back.
We did get him back. I know he probably can't hear me because unless he has the stream up live. But if you see us, Damien, you got it up going, brother. Give us a high five if you see. Well, give us a high five. Give us
just slap the camera.
Yes, just slap the camera and then break it. Then we'll be right back to where we were. So we do have our multi-secret, all 4 drivers. Again, top left, Scott Crump, Damian Leininger, Tate Lytle, and Johnny Thomas. And try to change this up driver by driver. There was a couple more drivers interested. So we'll flesh that out over time. But looks like the lights have gone out on the Mustang pace car, so again, single file restarts. I'm not sure if we're going to the end of the race like this, but if we are, I'd have to imagine we will be. Hopefully we'll string out the race and maybe get some more green flag runs. But here we go, Brandon, lap number 102, just past halfway. Dylan Thomas gets us going again.
Down into turn one of this time, and now Dylan Thomas leading the field out front. It's going to be Davis Warren back behind him, and that 20 machine now, and a whole Hornet's Nest race car is back there behind him.
Yes, it is, and again, fresh tires are pretty much your... they're dispersed, but they're the majority of your top 10 now. Thomas has the oldest tires. He's been out for 53 laps on his current set of good years, so he's going to most likely get swallowed up relatively quickly. Vincent Isabella, he is going to be to the inside, and Tate Lytle on the fresher tires, he's going to be to the outside, going for that third spot. Nearly some 3 wide again. You can see Joshua Persona in the 18, and that really battered number 18. We saw him cause a caution a couple sequences ago, but look at him knocking on the door of a top 5.
Tate Lytle down to the inside of Davis Warren now, and try to make a move on him. Here comes Nick Massey to the inside as well. The 48 machine looking like he's on rails.
Yeah, Massey just, I mean, he's had fresher tires and he's had some good, I mean, he's always quick. Maybe he finally has that track position. He can finally take advantage of it. But we do have a gaggle, Brandon, about 7th on back right now. Nearly 3 wide. Isabella, Kenny Lowry, Brandon Key, about 10th on back there. They were beaten and begging. You can see just by the cars, everyone has kind of been through the ringer, it looks like, at least in the latter end of the top 10. As we do have a battle for the lead.
Battle for the lead now. Dylan Thomas gonna lose it up at the front, and new race leader Tate Lytle once again.
Yeah, Lytle in that number 56. He is, doing what he usually does, which is, take command of many of these races. He's been up front pretty much all season. He's had at least 2 wins this season, if my memory serves correctly. So he's going to go for number 3 here and try to take that momentum into the playoffs. He has 2 wins, but he is 3rd in points, because remember, he did have a couple bad runs at Dover and at Pocono and at Darlington, if memory serves. But it doesn't look like Massey is rolling over and playing dead. Look at him right to the back bumper of the 56.
Almost a little bit of a bump back to the back bumper from Tate Lytle up at the front of this thing. The battle for the lead is on. 2-car breakaway, this time out of turn 2. These guys are going to shoot down the back straightaway. Nick Massey trying to make a move to the inside. Now he's going to look to the outside. The battle lanes up from the bottom of the racing surface out of turn 4, trying to get the momentum. Nothing happening there.
Yeah, really loose there on exit, which we've seen it. I mean, we've seen it countless times tonight. Guys getting loose on exit, just trying to get a little bit too much throttle down, a little bit too zealous, and spinning themselves around side by side. Actually, we have multiple side by side battles going on. As Josh Adams, the 95, looks like he just got by Dylan Thomas in the 03. Thomas with those ancient tires. Top drivers up front have had 20 laps on their tires, and Dylan Thomas has had 60 laps. We'll see if this graphic works this week. It didn't work last week. It doesn't work this week. Talked to Kyle about that. Our stint graphic here on for the ticker, but looks like Nick Massey getting really feisty up front. He's looking high, he's looking low, nearly looking at the back bumper at Tate Lytle.
One thing I noticed, Nick Massey has a much lower entry, and now he's going to shoot low underneath Tate Lytle this time. They're going to be side by side, battling off of turn 4 this time around. It's going to be a drag race all the way down to turn 1, 48 on the inside. It looks like Lytle may have the advantage on the outside. Momentum is going to hold true, and that it will, but looks like the 48 is still underneath them.
This is just the tough part of North Wilkesboro. The bumps to the inside, the greater distance to the outside kind of makes it an even transaction. But when you're on the exit, you get pinched down there. You don't get your momentum to carry you down the straightaways here. That's kind of what makes the outside persevere. But them doing this side by side is only bringing the 31 of Gerald Campbell and Chris Wright into the mix, giving us a potential 4-car battle for the lead as we are past the halfway point.
The 31 car getting it right up to the back bumpers now, this time down into turn 1. He's going to try to look for a way around. The door is shut. These guys are still going to be side by side battling for the lead. We're just past the halfway mark in this race, and now 48 Nick Massey's going to clear. Here comes the 31 and the 69 machine.
Lytle kind of shot out of the cannon there on the initial start, but now he's going to be paying the price for it as he does fall back to second, potentially third, potentially even fourth, depending how it does play out. Look at the 31 nearly dooring him there, and yet again, you have to watch out for that little opening in the fence on the backstretch. I'm just waiting for someone to run a little bit too wide and hit it there, but these guys doing good with that so far, as they're nearly in the fence. They're off of 4 using all the real estate.
Chris Wright now getting around Tate Lytle once again. Wright gonna have his eyes set and his hands full as now Tate Lytle getting passed again. I do believe that's the 95 machine underneath him.
Yeah, 95 again, just completely different scheme there. It is throwing me off there, but Josh Adam moves himself into the top 5 spot. Caution on the speedway. I'll tell you a couple drivers who could definitely pray for that. Dylan Thomas, he was definitely in need of it. Richard Lafferty. And this is not the first time Lafferty has had a negative circumstance on tonight's race, but let's take a look what happened on this sequence. He wasn't a gaggle, that's for sure. Joshua Personet in front of him, Kyle Lowry to the inside, a little bit of
a shot to the back bumper.
A little bit of a shot to the back bumper indeed. We'll check it out one more time there, potentially from the onboard if we can, of Lafferty. Yeah, there's a bump, got a little bit sideways, and I'm not going to let you save it, I'm just going to spin you. I don't think that was the intent, but that was the end result.
Yeah, it kind of comes down to, at that point, the bump unintentionally turns somebody and you have no further action but to kind of follow through with it, otherwise you're going to cause a bigger mess. So, I mean, good driving by all of those guys, and especially those that managed to avoid that mayhem, but brings out our next caution flag here of the night.
Not the May turkey?
No, the mayhem. You gotta have the ham.
There it is. I don't think I've ever used that joke yet, Brennan. And how many times have we been doing
No,
these podcasts?
I don't think you have.
But Scott Crump, whether he's going for the point or going for the track position, finds himself at the front of the field right now. And usually Crump is one that we'll see at the top of the field, well, because he's the points leader. He's had 3 wins, he's your points leader, he's had 7 top 5s, and he's usually one that we see up front, but he had a not so great starting position. And you can just see the lack there of rear bumper cover has kind of led to potentially where his evening has gone sour. We'll see what he can do with 23 lap old tires. I mean, we've seen guys hang on for a little bit, but well, he's just going to go for the point and the shit and the fame, and here he's going to come for fresh tires in the pit lane. So, as you said, Crump pulling it back in for fresh feel goods and fuel, and he was out there for the point. He got the point that he wanted, so gonna pull in. He's gonna hand the lead back over up front to, I believe, Gerald Campbell. Yes, he will. Chris Worrell will be the one getting a free pass. We only have 2 drivers off the track. 2 drivers off the lead lap. It'll be Neil and Personet, that are both Josh's. Brent Jones is 10 laps down, or rather 11 laps down in 29th, and then Zach Patton I don't really recall what happened to him because we didn't really see too much of it. Must have been one of those big wrecks, but he retired about 61 laps ago, and he will be shotgun on the field in the 30th position. Looks like the lights are out though, so we will have yet another single file restart. This time we'll be taking lap number 124. Common guy up front. It's going to be Campbell. He's been up front for a lot of these restarts. He'll be up front for one more. Here we go on that loud pedal, and look at that 4-car length jump right off the bat.
Gerald Campbell up at the front of the field. Now everybody going to stay single file for the most part, as Campbell has pretty significant lead up front, but here comes Nick Massey. He's got a storm coming with him as caution flag flies once again.
And Joe Francis and perhaps Brian Dorsey have some say in what happened on this most recent yellow. So again, short track fever kind of becoming the theme here this evening.
Looks like another self-spin. Brian Dorsey goes around, and looks like about everybody, I do believe everybody managed to avoid great driving by the rest of the field there.
Yeah, you can see one of the Lowrys there just barely snuck by. Francis was just kind of a slow roll at the top of the track. He had no real say in that incident. But again, does Brian Dorsey with the slow roll, and will cause, I'll have to see the numerics on it, Brandon, because it's, I don't know if we're at double digits, but we're not too far away from it. But looks like your leaders will have stayed out. We'll pop up our top ticker here, because that will kind of give us some of our fancier race statistics. Oh, wow, we are in double. Oh, well, this graphic's a little bit broken, but it is showing us that we have 11 cautions thus far tonight. I didn't think it was that many, but if this is right, then, well, that's a lot of cautions.
It is.
8 lead changes in the race fastest lap. Actually, Damian Leidinger at an 18.909. And kind of the beauty of part of what a lot of people love these days about broadcasting is sometimes it's nice to have the ticker scroll across the top. But when there's a lot of guys, you want to focus on someone specific, then it's kind of nice having the one just go down the left side of the screen. Sim TV, Kyle. You look, he built a really nice one for both. Part of why we closed down PTR TV, Brandon, because I didn't really feel like building a brand new one. But luckily Kyle did that, and I can just work for him because it's kind of nice.
As we know, as much effort as it takes going into the overlay systems.
Yeah, it's to do a good job, which we like to think we do a good job. I mean, people will have their opinions, but it's a lot of work that goes into this. But when the end result is kind of calling a race at the end of the day, Brandon, if it's virtual, if it's real, doesn't matter. It's still a race, still exciting moments, and still some action. So always fun indeed to do it. But here we go for yet another restart. This time we'll be taking lap number 30, and still with the single file status.
The field lined up, ready to go behind the iRacing official Ford Mustang pace car. Gerald Campbell going to lead these guys to the green. They hit the restart point. Green flag flies once again.
And the jump he has been getting every time, and as long as there's single file restarts, the jump that Campbell's going to get is pretty much going to be insurmountable unless he gets some serious wheel spin. So that is going to definitely be in his favor as we are completing lap number 130. You can see Chuck Sweeting methodically working his way through the field. I think he was cause of one of our first cautions of the race. And now look at him going for a top 10, trying to look to the outside, potentially of the 0-3 of Thomas, but now that's going to open the door for Damian Leidinger in the 12. Leidinger is going to look to the inside off of 4. That's going to be a side-by-side battle.
Caution flag flies once again.
Didn't get to see, just got on to see Damian Leidinger drive there, and I was just about to point out something similar that he does that I used to do when I drive. But we'll have to talk about that later. But we'll try to. Do you have any vibes as to what happened there, Brandon? Don't have any immediate cues here on the telemetry. Looks like maybe Joshua Personet somewhere in that range.
Maybe. I'm trying to go back and find that as well.
Yeah, we may have, yeah. Sometimes, a lot of the times we don't have 10 monitors here like, NASCAR telemetry rooms do and the camera rooms do. Pretty much we just have to go by some very primitive data, take a good stab at what happened, and sometimes it's not very obvious, so might have just been a slow, methodical spin, but whatever it was, Barney threw out the yellow flag, and we will have some form of pit stops there. There's Chris Worrell coming in, but he is a lap down. A lot of damage to repair on that number 6 machine. But your leaders will stay on the track. Looks like your top 20 or so will remain on the raceway.
I have found the culprit, Corey. I have indeed found the culprit. Cause of caution was the 6 of Chris Worrell getting together with the 87 machine up on the outside. Those guys collided down the back straightaway and sends them both up to the outside wall. The 6 machine goes around, the 87 collected, and that'll bring out that caution flag.
Yes, indeed it did, Brandon. So lap number 135, I think, well, based on the prior graphic, this would be our 12th caution of the race, as we are, I mean, just do the mathematics, we're on 135 at 200, so we are within 65 laps of the finish, and 65 laps, you know, at a 2-mile track, such as, you know, Michigan or Michigan, you know, bigger speedways a lot of time. 65 laps on a short track, Brandon, 20-second laps, that flips around very, very quickly, so it's going to be to the point now where I think most of these drivers are probably going to pit one more time, and someone is probably going to stay out, and it depends on which side of the coin you're on. If you stay out, if you pit, are you going to get yourself in a bad track position standpoint? Are you going to have to stay out? I think that's going to be a big deal for these guys as we do conclude this race.
Yeah, absolutely, Corey. That's going to be a huge factor, I think, at the end of this race. But pace car set to pull off. They hit the restart point once again on the throttle. Green flag is back in the air.
Yes, it is. And again, the jump, as we expect, goes to the number 31 machine of Gerald Campbell. He's our leader on these single file restarts. The advantage goes to the leader so handily that it's almost impossible for anybody to stay up with him. But, I mean, that's kind of the advantage you get when you're the leader. The race is yours until someone takes it away from you. But it does look like someone is trying to take it away from him, and that is the number 48 of Nick Massey, who really hasn't, you know, had the run we've seen all season with him. He's led some laps, but it's mainly just because of strategy. But look at the 31.
Look out, 31. Side by side, that turned into a drag race. Gerald Campbell slips all the way up to the outside wall, avoids contact with the concrete, but now he's got Nick Massey right up to his door. These guys are going to continue to battle. Carlo on the inside doesn't play a factor as of yet.
Yeah, that's Joshua Person trying to get out of the way, but you saw the huge wiggle from Gerald Campbell there in turn 4 a couple laps ago to open the door for Massey. Now that's going to be the 69 of Chris Wright, 95 of Josh Adams, 3rd and 4th. That's going to be the, you know, the battle for position right now. And I think this track temp, Brandon, is coming into play. We talked earlier before you were in the broadcast, Brandon, track temp 125 degrees. Reference point now, it is still 115, so the track temp actually has gone down since the beginning of the race, perhaps because of the cloud cover coming out, you know, on and off the speedway. But still very warm track conditions. There's a little bit of contact between the 69 and 31 through 3 and 4.
Little bit of contact. Look out, 31 up to the outside wall. Big contact with the concrete. He manages to keep it going, but that's going to hurt his race machine for sure. 3 wide, battling down into turn 3 now.
Yeah, I want to quickly catch what happened there on the replay. You could see them kind of roughing each other up through 3 and 4 there, and then as we went through 1 and 2, Tate Lytle ended up hitting the wall there, but a little bit of contact there, big impact into the fence for Campbell. And we did see out of the corner of our eye that the 56 actually had a pretty big contact into the fence as the caution comes back out.
Tyler Riggs in the 26 machine going for a ride. It started down at a turn 2 as he got loose and he tried to save it. He got through the grass and back up out of the racetrack and finally gets rear-ended by the 57. That'll stuff him about to head on to the outside concretes, and that whole wreck will end in turn 3.
Yeah, he had it saved, but then just ran out of real estate there before someone just kind of didn't really have too much of evasive maneuvering. But do want to take a look at Tate Lytle, because I saw there on the long shot while I was watching the replay with Gerald Campbell and I think it was Dylan Thomas there, or Chris Wright rather. See some right front damage to Tate Lytle there, so I don't know if that's going to deter his race strategy, but Brent, just as I talked about on the last caution, we're on 55 laps to go, and we have about 17th on back coming to pit lane. I feel like for those drivers, it's probably going to be their last pit stop. And then you have Nick Massey and company, about the first 14 drivers. They've been on the racetrack for 25 laps. Assuming we have a caution at about 15 or 20, I think that's going to be their last pit stop, and it's going to be an interesting track position game to play the rest of the race out. At least I think, but I'm usually always wrong.
Yeah, I mean, 55 laps around this place is not long at all. As we've seen, this race has just blown by so far. So these guys really not working with a lot of time to make the moves that they have to make, and I think this is about going to be go time if it wasn't before.
Yeah, this is the unlucky number 13 in relation to caution flags here tonight. So 13 cautions over 146 laps. So these guys obviously not having some trouble with the very difficult classic North Wilkesboro Speedway. But remember, this is the last race of the playoffs, and this is actually, I just gotta double check I gotta double check something here, because looking at our calendar, Brandon, I just have to make sure this is right, because we're on June 22nd right now, but I'm not showing our playoffs actually starting until the month of August. So next race, at least here on our calendar online, is showing our next race in August 3rd at Texas, August 10th at Richmond, August 17th at Talladega, August 24th at Martinsville, and our season finale August 31st at Atlanta. So gives us about a month off, at least from official racing. I think there was a race plan somewhere in the middle of that as an exhibition, but yeah, this is going to be our last last points paying race for almost a month, so these guys might get a little bit rusty in the meantime. We'll see what happens, but we are ready for a restart number 14 of the night. Green flag back in the air, jump as expected goes to the 48.
Yeah, the 48 pulls out front, but here comes Chris Wright, not far behind Corey, hugging that white line all the way around the inside of the racing surface, and he had the momentum, and he's going to be coming up quick, I do believe. Nick Massey slides up the racetrack. Here comes the 69.
60.
Caution flag flies once again.
And that's Gerald Campbell. A race gone from worse to gone from bad to worse. That's the saying.
Contact with another driver. That was the 46 upon corner entry to turn 3. And
Kyle Hanshaw, man, that was a very slow, methodical spin there. I know it didn't actually happen just based on sim limitations, but it almost looked like the contact between the two almost like cut a tire down the way as slowly as he spun around there. But race goes from bad to worse.
Looked like it was just trying to catch the race car, and eventually the back end stepped out enough to where he couldn't rely on the tire softness to save him. The tire flexed.
Yeah, that. But
the aero spins aren't as huge of a factor here in the short track, so a lot of it falls into the sidewall of the tires and just how much they flex and are able to grip underneath that race car. But
especially, when you don't have the tires up to temp, because, you figure as soon as we get them up to temp, they're cooling right off. So,
yeah, absolutely. That's a huge factor in it as well off of these restarts, Corey. Made the contact, and he thought he had it saved, and weight transfer and the flex of the sidewall on that tire, just combinations managed to send him in a late spin after the contact. The reason why it was so late, as I don't think I did a very good job of explaining where I was going with that whole thing.
Not really, but you tried, so that's all that matters.
That is the reason why the spin was so late. I tried, okay?
You did. Valiant effort.
I am smart when it comes to race car parts, I promise.
We are under 50 to go, Brandon, so now I'm just, kind of taking the strategy that I mentioned and kind of putting it more into context now, and 33 laps, our top 15 have been out on tires, pretty much over 30 laps for all of them. Johnny Thomas has been out for 19, so he has slightly fresher tires than everybody else, but He's right behind the guy. He's right in front of the guys who have the freshest tires of the bunch, and I'm really starting to wonder if there's going to be enough laps for, you know, Massey, Wright, anybody in the top 10 to even consider pitting. I almost wonder if their bet has to be kind of made now in terms of heading to pit road.
Yeah, I think so at this point in the race. I mean, 46 laps to go now, and you know, not a lot of time left to play here.
Yeah, not at all, but again, we're going to try the restart game one more time. We'll see what kind of jump the 48 gets. Kind of checked him up there, got him going. Green flag back in the air. Massey didn't get as big of a jump, but look at the number 12 of Damian Leininger looking to the outside here in turn number 1 on top of Josh Adams.
He's going to get his nose in there. He's going to have the momentum to the outside this time. The 12 machine trying to make a move. Rim Mariah to get here. Second groove up, and now he's going to lose that momentum just a little bit. That's going to allow Adams to clear once again.
Yes, it will. So Adams will go back into the third position here, and everyone looks pretty well strung out here. We have seen a lot of self-spins. We'll see if everyone's able to get some heat in the tires here and, you know, get themselves going, maybe finish this thing under green flag conditions. But it'll be interesting to see up front what happens. I mean, we've seen Gerald Campbell. He was the one that dominated this race, but now he's going to be all the way back on the 19th spot, pretty much out of contention. So, I mean, Nick Massey has been pretty good now that he's gotten himself, you know, in good track position. Started all the way back. Actually, he started the pole, but he ended up getting shuffled back relatively early in the race. Took him a while to get back up front. We'll see if he can hang on. Chris Wright, you know, fresh off a win a couple weeks ago at Charlotte. He's in second. Josh Adams, fresh off a win at Darlington 2 weeks ago. He's in third. Damian Leininger, again, a recent winner at Pocono. Pretty much all the guys who've won races in the past couple weeks.
Caution flag flies once again. 46 machine. Kyle Hanshaw goes around.
Take a look.
And guess what, Corey?
Good old self-spin.
Man, hard contact at the inside wall also. That was a hard contact and a tough break. I think that's about going to do his night in.
Kind of spin cycles we've had tonight. I think my laundry would be nice and dry, but fake out into pit road. Massey stays out. Wright and who was that else that came to pit road? Josh Adams do come to pit road.
Wow. And now you got to sit here and wonder what this could potentially do for the new tires, Corey, or not do with the guys in the old tires, or vice versa.
Looks like we had about 5 or 6 drivers come to pit lane. I don't know how many of them were about the drivers we see that were actually in contention versus guys that just had a lot of damage. But it's going to put Chris Wright and Adams, at least preliminarily, back to 20th and 21st with less than 40 laps to go. Oh, here comes a bunch of guys coming to pit road. There's Lafferty and Francis. Those are 2 lead lap drivers, so that will, help very slightly to the cause of Adams and Wright. Yeah, at this point, Brandon, I don't really foresee, unless it's maybe I really don't foresee any way that the guys up front can possibly pit now. It'll be interesting to see if Lytle back in 11th is able to navigate through the guys who have 40 plus lap old tires, which is everybody in front of him realistically, 10th on up. It'll be interesting to see, but with these quick cautions, 2-3 laps, each caution's pretty much taken 6 or 7 laps. So realistically, Brandon, we have a 40 lap run, 6 lap cautions. We only have maybe 3 or 4 restarts left in the tank.
Yeah, absolutely. Time is kind of ticking down here, and I think the end of this race is going to be pretty interesting just to see what these new tires can do, or if they can get back up towards the front of this thing.
Johnny Thomas kind of playing with the goatee. That usually means he's thinking about something.
I love this driver, Cam.
He's back at 21st. I caught him thinking before. Kind of funny I had him, because I have the feeds up here. I randomly pulled it up. He was eating a donut in the pre-race show. Kind of caught him off guard. That was kind of funny. But again, having fun with these webcam segments here. I know the drivers love them, and got some pretty good feedback, with fans and, family watching these streams. So having fun with that. But we are getting ready for, I think, restart number 15, 16, kind of lost count. But the pace car will pull in once more, and green flag will be back in the air.
Nick Massey gets the jump once again. Damian Leininger trying to make something happen in that second groove up, but not quite able to get there. Nick Massey just too strong out front of this thing so far.
Well, so far he is, but Leininger is just slowly working his way through. I mean, we really haven't seen him go for, a win or, go for the lead at any point in the race thus far. You can see the full focus on Leininger, kind of racing with his tongue out there a little bit. I think that's something that I do there. Just again, you don't really until you watch it, especially if you're not a streamer, you're not a Broadbent Malone, someone who does on Twitch streams, you don't have your webcam up, you don't realize what you do with your race. I'm in VR, so I always have random itches and stuff like that, so it does get kind of interesting when you just kind of watch yourself. And Johnny Thomas back there in the 20th position right now. Scott Crump, he is in the 10th position right now. He's in a tight battle with Kyle Lowry. Then our final, again, we were just on board with Damian Leininger in the second spot.
Caution flag flies once again, Corey.
And let us see. It looks like it would be Kenny Lowry, who he was right on the playoff bubble, so being in a late race caution not going to help his playoff endeavors. See, he was in a gaggle there right with Lytle. I think everyone, fresh tires trying to work their way through the field. And what happened to him right in the center of 3 and 4? Kind of a 3-wide squeeze there between Campbell and Wright, spun him around on the front straightaway. And Massey to pit road with 30 to go. Massey, Leininger, Key, Thomas, Hill Jr. They did choose to come to pit road, but some guys remaining on the track. Chuck Sweeting, Brandon Key, Kyle Lowry, Marshall Stanley, and Scott Crump himself staying out on the 50-lap old tires. So now we have 3 sets of tires going on. We have super old, moderately old, slightly less old. That's your 10-lap tires of Adams, Dura, Johnny Thomas, Kyle Hanshaw. And then we have your brand new tires, essentially 4 different groups of drivers, but I don't know, Brandon, 19th to 1st in 30 laps for Massey. I can't really say I go with that call, but I also can't blame him for, being in a bind there.
I apologize. I did get a bit distracted here for a moment.
Squirrel.
As you said last week, R2D2 decided to make an appearance.
Does look like, 2-3 laps into the yellow. If they were going to pit, I would have thought they would have pit, but looks like Sweeting's going to, top 4 on 25-lap old tires. It may not be the worst deal in the world. We're going to go green with 23 to go. I think we're on 16 cautions by now. I'll check the graphic in a little bit. We'll pull that up on the other ticker, but if he gets a good jump, holds on for 3 laps, we get a caution, he burns about 5 or 6 more laps off. Now we're down in the teens. Do it once or twice more. Very realistically, could win this race on ancient tires.
Absolutely correct. So
Lights out on the pace car now, so it should be 25 to go when we get the stripe this time by. So again, we do have, remember, 2 opportunities at a green-white checker to put this in overtime if that does, come to fruition. But it's going to be Sweeting, Key, Kyle Lowry, Marshall Stanley, and Scott Crump, your top 5. Pace car is
off.
And then green flag back in the air. Look at the 53 was ready for that one. He takes a look to the inside, nothing doing there, but he stayed right with him through 1 and 2.
That he did. Chuck Sweeting managing to hang strong out front. Brandon Key back behind him. And that's going to be Kyle Lowry back there in that 3rd position.
Scott Crump in 4th now, but look at the Tate Lytle on those fresher tires. He's in 5th right now, trying to get underneath Marshall Stanley for that position. You can see Chris Wright and Gerald Campbell not too far back. Chris Wright's on much fresher tires than even Tate Lytle is, so those fresh tires on that 69 trying to get through the jungle as quickly as they can, but watch him out. He's in the fence with Adam Pettit. Caution's going to come out.
Caution flag flies once again.
Chris Wright had the opportunity to the outside there. And just Pettit just really didn't give him the room and kind of just squeezed him in the fence there. I don't think too much wrongdoing at Chris Wright, IMO, but luckily,
I have to agree with that.
And luckily he didn't really have too much negative consequence from that himself, as Wright's still in the 10th position, but I was told, Brandon, in the pre-race or in earlier conversations in the week with Johnny Thomas, the league owner, that they are planning on doing a special, radioactive segment after this race, kind of taking the best tidbits of streams, broadcast, and segments and putting it together in some entertaining little myriad of clips. I feel like they're going to have a lot to choose from after this race.
Yeah, I'd say about the same thing.
I mean, let's pop up our horizontal ticker here so we can. We checked about, I don't know, 20 minutes ago when we were at 13 cautions. Any guesses, Brandon?
I don't know. I lost count.
I'm gonna say 18, 17. Gosh darn it, I was close.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say let's go for 20, but we very well may, if, even within the realm of, actually, no, we'd probably take 1 overtime to get to 20. I don't want to get to 20, but at the same time, I wouldn't put it past if we get there at this current rate. I can't really see a car on the track that really hasn't undergone some form of issues tonight. There's Brian Dorsey going for the wave around. He will get 1 much needed lap back, go from 24 down to 23 laps down.
I think he has a little bit to make up.
A little bit.
Can gain a couple of positions that way, though.
But the funny thing is, Brandon, through this entire, absolute just wreckfest of an event here, we've only had 4 retirees. Personette, Worrell, Jones, and Patton. There's still 26 drivers actively on the speedway trying to finish these last 20 laps out. The amount of low speed impacts we've had really just isn't damaging vehicles, so it's allowing people to stay in the race. You get damage, you fix it, 20-30 seconds of damage repairs, and it's not perfect, but it's still competitive enough that, you can stay in the race and maybe even still stay competitive with the other competitors.
Absolutely correct, and the field's going to get the signal from Barney this time. Green flag will fly. Pace car getting ready to make its way down into the infield once again. Chuck Sweeting in control. He's on the throttle. Green flag is back in the air.
I'll tell you, that 53, the line he's running, makes me think he's going to take a shot at it every time, but just doesn't get through the center at all. Allows Sweeting to pull ahead and take a pretty solid lead there into 3 and 4.
Caution flag flies once again.
Well, let's cut that thought off midway. I mean, we're at 18 now. We're going for 20, guys. We're going for 20. Looks like it was Kyle Hanshaw having some issue. Oh, actually, I take that back. It was Josh Adams. Kyle Hanshaw, I was kind of trying to avoid that. Ended up getting into it. We'll go check that back from the perspective of the 95. 3 wide potentially with Gerald Campbell. Tennessee Shandura to the outside. Dura into the right rear. Right hand hooks him into the fence. Contact from Robert Hill Jr. there. Hill Jr. pretty much going to be out of the playoff contention after the run he's had. And then Kyle Hanshaw with a slow little spin there through the grass on the backstretch, trying to get through it. But as I said, Brandon, Chuck Sweeting, the way that this is going, you know, get a good restart, lead 2 or 3 laps, caution, get a good restart, lead 2 or 3 laps, caution.
Oh, absolutely.
He's going to be at a point where, I mean, might only have to do it once or twice more, and the freshest set of tires behind him is in 5th with Tate Lytle. And as many cycles have been on these tires, I really don't even think that the tires on the 51 are that much better at this point. Might be stealing himself into a win here, Chuck Sweeting, in the sponsorless number 27 Camaro. Significant rear damage to that machine, though. Somebody absolutely pile drove into the back of him at some point in the race, but obviously, you know, the best part of the car, Brennan, to have contact and damage is the rear bumper, because air doesn't really touch the rear bumper too often, so usually the car still drives pretty well without that.
Well, holding strong out front, nevertheless, is that 27 machine. And he does have pretty good company back behind him, Corey, so as long as he can keep getting these good restarts, I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, Crump in the 51 and Lytle in the 56. Those are going to be the competitors that he has to worry about right here. See, lights have gone down in Tate Lytle's cave here, so we're turning the lights off to focus later in the race here. Looks like his feed's got a little bit choppy, but there's Crump getting on the wheel here. He's in that 4th spot, and he's kind of on the same set of tires that your top 3 is on, and he has Tate Lytle right behind him on those fresher Goodyear Eagles. But we'll see what happens here as we do close in on 10 to go. It's going to be 11 to go when they cross the stripe this time by. How many more yellows will we have? Is this going to be the magic run to the checkers? And can Sweeting hold on? I guess we'll find out together. Pace car is going to pull in once more, and we'll see what kind of restart Sweeting gets. He's on the loud pedal pretty smoothly there, as is Brandon Key. Green flag back in the air.
The field storms down into turn 1. Around goes Kyle Lowry. Somehow everybody managing to avoid we stay green.
I don't know how they did it, but somehow they did. They stayed green. Everyone managed to, you know, dot their I's and cross their T's there. But look at what it did to spread out your leaders.
Chuck Sweeting coming down into turn 3. This time he'll receive 10 laps to go. The 53 not far back from him. In fact, starting to close on the rear bumper cover of that 27 machine.
Yeah, I mean, 2 guys that we haven't really talked about, at least in this regard, of going for a win all season. I mean, barring a caution, which of course is very well likely, they're going to be up going for this win. Tate Lytle, though, is in 3rd, and he, last time by, only ran about a half-tenth faster than Chuck Sweeting, even with much fresher tires. I mean, the cycles that have occurred to them and any potential damage just kind of leveled out the pace here. So Lytle's not going to get there. Then going back, Chris Wright in the 69. He has the freshest tires of the top 5, but the front-end damage is going to, you know, hurt any causes he has. So realistically, Brandon Sweeting is one of the fastest. He's one of the best guys.
Caution.
Well, there goes that thought. Let's see, Tyler Riggs and Joe Francis, and this is pretty much going to put us into, if not overtime territory, it might just be a natural 2-3 lap shootout to the finish.
Oh, wow.
See here, we're on the
That
back,
was
on the
big
back
contact from the
straightaway.
4. Big contact from the 4 into the 26 of Tyler Riggs.
Yeah, that was drove it in too deep, and Richard Lafferty was there as well. But yeah, Tyler Riggs and Joe Francis were the ones on the short end of the stick there with that caution flag. It's getting a better look at it on the replay here. You can see the 26, and Joe Francis kind of delayed impact there. I don't know. Spotter a little delayed on the calls for him. Kind of got into that a little bit on the latter end of it, but still. Puts us again into, we're at 5 to go, Brandon. We're probably going to go green, if not with 3, if not worse, 2 to go. And remember, we have 2 attempts at a green-white checker, so if we can take the white, we're going to go to the checkers. But if we can't take the white, we have 2 chances to put this into overtime.
Will be an interesting ending to this race for sure.
Chuck Sweeting this season, he's only looking at the season statistics for him, trying to get a scope of where he's been this season. He's only made 4 starts, though he did have 2 top 5s, and he's led 14 laps this season. So I mean, he's not had any crazy results, but in the runs he's had pretty respectable finishes. So both this season he's run at most recently at Charlotte, actually rather Las Vegas, with a 10th, 5th at Darlington, 25th at Pocono, and a 3rd in the Charlotte 300. So it's pretty. Sweeting's going to try to put this 27 in victory lane for the first time in the ERSCA PristineAuction.com 2020 campaign, but 2 guys behind him. It's more so that 56 that I'm looking at. If he can get a good jump, perhaps get to the outside of the 53. 53 really has struggled through turns 1 and 2 on these restarts. So if Tate Lytle can take advantage of that, he might have a run at it, but we'll see what kind of jump the 27 gets off the hole shot.
Chuck Sweeting gonna see what he can do to try to fend off the guys behind him. He's got Brandon Key, Tate Lytle, Scott Crump, Chris Wright all stacked up behind him. He gets to the firing zone. Green flag is in the air. They're underway once again.
All right, can we make it? 0.686 miles to get to the white flag lap. Are we going to make it half a lap at this point? Chuck Sweeting has a humongous lead. We're coming through 3 and 4. I don't see any smoke. I don't see any calamity. Getting very close to the white flag, and there it is.
White flag is in the air for the 27 of Chuck Sweeting. He's kind of been minding his own business this whole race, Corey, and now he's going to come off of turn 4, this time victorious at North Wilkesboro Speedway. The 27 Chuck Sweeting is your winner here tonight after 200 laps.
And carnage after this checkered flag. I think that was Gerald Campbell who went around even further. The 31, he will spin around backwards across the finish line and finish 10th. But Chuck Sweeting, first victory this season. Brandon, we've followed Chuck Sweeting and I want to say almost every league we've ever covered on behalf of every channel we've been with. But good to see a good guy come to victory lane here in the Hot Lap Podcast 200 here, the regular season finale for the ERSCA PristineAuction.com series, and he'll burn it down on the front straightaway. While he does that, we'll pull on the screen here and give you the results here from North Wilkesboro. Chuck Sweeting again with the victory here tonight. And again, kind of caught it out of nowhere, lucked out on the strategy, and took advantage of it for the win. Brandon Key with the second, Tate Lytle with the third, Scott Crump in fourth, Chris Wright in fifth, Damian Leininger, Marshall Stanley, Dylan Thomas, Nick Massey, and Gerald Campbell, your top 10. We'll let the rest of the results populate on the rest of your screen here. So, Brandon, absolute calamity that ensued us here at North Wilkesboro, which I think we kind of expected, kind of didn't. The strategy, though, definitely worked out in Chuck Sweeting's favor, playing it perfectly.
Absolutely, it did. He did what he had to do, and that put him straight into victory lane.
Yes, it did, but what we are going to do is step aside for a brief moment here, get these drivers set up in the booth here, and talk to them about some post-race interviews and maybe a couple drivers who just made themselves into the chase. So we'll just stay with us. We'll be right back with you. All right, back here on Sim TV, we are going to start the post-race show here. Going to start with your race winner here tonight. Got the number 27, fresh out of victory lane. Chuck Sweeting, you got us, brother?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. I mean, we've seen you years going back in tons of different leagues, and here you are with a victory here tonight in ERSCA. I mean, caution after caution, but you kind of got yourself on the right tire sequence at the end and had a couple good restarts in the last 50 laps. Talk about how it went for you tonight.
Well, it didn't start out too well. At one time, I was nose first in the guardrail on the backstretch. Got involved in an accident. Well, trying to avoid an accident, got hit from behind. But I don't know, just kind of hung in there the whole race and got up to 6th, and then lost a couple spots on a restart, and I was in 8th, and we had some cautions and some of the leaders pit, and then we had another caution and some more of them pit. Next thing I know, I'm in the lead, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to pit and give it up. So I just stayed out there, and it worked out.
Yes, it did, man. And again, North Wilkesboro kind of being a relatively new track on the service to everyone. So what was the biggest, at least here in the Xfinity cars, what was kind of the biggest thing that gave you difficulty tonight?
The track was, the setup was a little bit tight on entry and center, and then on cold tires, it was real easy to spin the tires coming off the corner. So you had to be careful. You had to drive it right. I think that's why we saw so many cautions. It was just like on edge a lot. So you had to be on your toes with it, and that's what I tried to do.
Yeah, well, and it worked out well for you in all regards, man, here tonight. Who do you want to give a shout out to for tonight's victory?
I just want to thank the admins, everyone at ERSCA, and then, of course, Pristine Auction for sponsoring the series, and you guys for doing the awesome job you always do covering the races. Can't wait to watch it back. So we'll see you guys next time.
All right, we'll catch you in about a month's time, hopefully at Texas as the playoffs begin. We'll see what you can do then, but again, congratulations on the win here tonight, Chuck.
All right, thanks a lot, Corey.
All right, so that is your victor, and I'll bring up second place. I have Brandon Key. Brandon, you got us, brother?
Yeah, what's going on, fellas?
All right, I mean, kind of a calamity-ridden race here, and just kind of talking to Chuck about how it worked out, and you and him kind of had a good strategy played out there where you had a good tire sequence. Talk about how your race went, and ultimately if you thought you had any for him there on those last couple restarts.
I think I had something for him. We didn't get enough green flag run in to run him down, but I had to stay out to get the track position to try to make the playoffs, and I wasn't gonna take 4 tires and go back there in 20th place and have to work my way back up.
Well, kind of a good thing to ask you that, because I know the playoff picture was pretty tight going in. Have you gotten any kind of unofficial or official verdict yet on if you got in that 10th spot?
Yeah, I think I missed it by 2 points. I had to win the race.
Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe post-race inspection will work out in your favor, man. But again, kind of talking about what I said to Chuck here, North Wilkesboro being a relatively new track. A lot of self-spins here tonight. I know the bumps on the inside groove. What was your biggest challenge here in tonight's race?
I mean, a track like this, you gotta worry about getting run over from behind and also not sliding your brakes and running the person over in front of you as well. So it's kind of tough diving it on in the corners here and worrying about who's behind you. So checking your rear view is very important here.
Yeah, it is, and I think everyone in the field is beaten up. You probably have one of the cleanest cars in the field, man. You ended up pulling off a second with it. Who do you want to give a shout out to?
Definitely the guys over at RRM, Damian, Josh, Chris, Nick, teammates all year, man. They've been awesome helping me along, and Johnny for putting on a good league, and y'all for a great broadcast every week.
I appreciate that, brother. Catch you in about a month's time or so at Texas. Congrats again on the good finish.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
And now Tate Lytle, our third place finisher. He is with us in the booth, man. Tate, you got a copy?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I think we actually still have you on stream here a little bit. I mean, obviously a calamity-ridden race that we had here at North Wilkesboro. Tons of caution flags, but a lot of different strategies. You had a good car, up in the lead, fell back. All in all, kind of wrap it up for me. How was tonight for you?
It was probably about a 5th place car. I think a lot of the, like Josh and Nick and Gerald, they all had me beat, but I feel like I was a solid 5th place guy. And I kind of figured out earlier that if you pitted, you could, in 20 laps, you could go from 15th to top 2 or 3. And I was just, I don't know, if it would have gone green those last couple laps, those guys that pitted probably would have gotten back up there and at least challenged for the win. But I knew that at North Wilkesboro, it was never going to be clean and green the last 40 laps, especially the way that the first part of the race had gone. So I pitted, fell back to like 17th when I did with about 50 to go, and then slowly worked our way up. I was hoping I'd have a little bit of a tire advantage on Chuck and Brandon, but it just wasn't enough time.
Yeah, between that, maybe some heat cycles to kind of even you guys out there at the end, but you're coming into the playoffs now, brother. You got some good position, you got some good, good momentum for a great regular season. We got Texas, Richmond, Dega, Martinsville, ending it at Atlanta. Where do you have circled there in terms of where you're having the most luck or skill in the playoff tracks?
I like my chances everywhere. Obviously, Talladega is a crapshoot, but I could win just as easy as I could finish 24th there, and a lot of those other tracks are pretty decent tracks for me. So I don't know. I think it's going to come down to me and Josh and probably Chris and Scott, obviously. So it just kind of who has the cleanest races and doesn't get taken out of Talladega would probably be the champion.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there you go. Probably the most likely scenario, man. But congrats again on the finish. Any shout outs you want to give for your 3rd place tonight?
Yeah, belly up golf, and then obviously Brent Wentz with Days Gone By. He's done a lot for not just me, but all the leagues and stuff that I run in. So I don't know if he's watching, but shout out to him if he is. And yeah, you guys for doing the broadcast. Thank you guys.
Right,
see you in a month.
Not a problem, man. We'll catch you in a month at Texas. You have a good one.
You too.
All right, but that is tonight's broadcast. I know Brandon, being someone in the fire world, emergency services, he's actually already out taking a fire call, but he gives his congratulations to all of our finishers and thanks to all the viewers here tonight on Sim TV. Corey Silva and Brandon Crute signing out of the booth. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.